There's a battle happening right now, inside your head. You may not hear it, you may not see it, but it's raging every single day. And if you're not in control of your mind, then trust this. Something else is. Your fears, your doubts, the voices of people who never believed in you. They're all standing at the gate, ready to storm in. And unless you rise up and take control, your mind will become a battlefield you keep losing. We live in a world where distractions are louder than dreams, where comfort seduces you into mediocrity, where your phone has more influence over your thoughts than your own voice does. And that's dangerous. Because the one thing you always have the power to command is your mind. Not your job, not the economy, not how others treat you, but your focus, your beliefs, your mental discipline. That's your fortress. That's your kingdom. And yet so many people hand over the keys to their mind without even realizing it. Let's be real. Your mind is either your weapon or your prison. It's either training you or trapping you. If your mind tells you you're not good enough and you believe it, you've already surrendered. But if your mind tells you keep going, even when it's hard, especially when it's hard, you're building mental armor that nothing can break. Every great achievement started in someone's mind. Every breakthrough, every comeback, every transformation, it all began with a decision to think differently. Not to think comfortably, not to think like everyone else, but to think with intention, with purpose, with resilience. So if you feel stuck, if you feel small, if you feel like life is out of your control, start where your real power lives. Start with your thoughts. Because the person who learns to command their thoughts commands their life. Don't wait for the world to change. Change your inner world first. This video is not just motivation. It's your mental mirror. Every part is going to wake up the part of your mind that's been sleeping. You're not weak. You're not broken. You've just been on autopilot. It's time to flip the switch. If you control nothing else, control your mind. That's where everything begins. The silent saboteur, how your mind shapes your reality. There's a voice in your head that no one else can hear. It whispers when you wake up. It comments on your every move. Sometimes it motivates you, but more often it sabotages you. That voice, that's your mind unchecked. That's your thoughts running wild without a leader. And the scary truth is this: if you don't command that voice, it will command you. Most people don't even realize how much of their reality is shaped not by facts, but by interpretation. Your mind doesn't just record what happens, it decides what it means. You fail once, and your mind says, see, you're not made for this. Someone rejects you, and your mind says, you'll never be enough. You try something difficult, and your mind screams, quit now before it hurts. But here's the thing, none of that is truth. It's perception. It's the story your mind has trained itself to tell you over and over again. And if you don't challenge it, you live inside that story like it's reality. That's how dreams die, not from failure, but from the lies we believe about failure. You have to understand this. Your mind has been conditioned by your past, by society, by fear, by comfort. And that conditioning becomes a silent saboteur, killing your progress from the inside out. It convinces you to stay safe when you need to be bold. It tells you to wait when you need to act. It makes you shrink when you were born to rise. But here's where the shift begins. Awareness. You have to start hearing that inner dialogue, not to accept it, but to question it. When your mind says, you can't, ask, says who? When it says, this is just how things are, ask, or is this just how I've been thinking? Controlling your mind doesn't mean never feeling fear or doubt. It means recognizing those feelings and choosing not to bow to them. It means deciding that you are not your thoughts. You are the one behind them, the commander, not the servant, the builder, not the victim. This is the beginning of true transformation, not when your circumstances change, but when your perspective does. Not when life gets easier, but when you get stronger. And strength starts in the mind. So today, start noticing. What's the story you're telling yourself? What beliefs are you carrying that don't serve you anymore? Because until you face those, you'll keep repeating the same results and blaming everything but the root cause. The battle is not out there, it's in here. And if you win this fight, the one between your ears, everything else begins to fall into place. Control your mind, or it will control you. The first battle is always within. When you wake up in the morning, before your feet hit the ground, there is already a war waiting for you. But it's not in the world outside. It's not your job, it's not your schedule, and it's not the people around you. It's the battle inside your own mind. The thoughts, the doubts, the resistance, it all begins there. Most people don't realize that before you ever step into the world, your mind has already shaped how you're going to experience the day. And if you don't learn to take command of your mind, it will take command of you. The truth is, your thoughts are not always your friends. Some will try to convince you that you're not good enough. Others will whisper that it's okay to settle. And some will scream that you should quit before you even try. These thoughts feel like truth because they come from your own mind. But just because they speak doesn't mean they're right. Just because they appear doesn't mean they deserve your attention. That's why the first step to any real transformation is mental discipline. You don't win the war in the gym or the office or the hustle. You win it in your head. Control your thoughts and you begin to control your direction. Control your direction and you begin to control your life. But if you let your mind wander unchecked, you'll always feel like you're being pulled by forces you can't name and don't understand. It starts with self-awareness. Recognizing the difference between your inner truth and your inner fear. Between the voice of purpose and the voice of panic. Train your mind to stop reacting to every thought as if it's gospel. Learn to pause, to question, to redirect. That's where power lives. In the pause. And no, this isn't easy. Mental discipline is the hardest discipline because it requires daily repetition. It's uncomfortable, it's slow, and it feels invisible. But the strongest people on this planet aren't the ones with the biggest muscles or the loudest voices. They're the ones who have learned to govern their own mind before trying to change the world. The ones who know that if they don't win the first battle within, nothing else they do will ever be enough. So before you try to control your schedule, your finances, your success, start with your mind. Because that's where everything begins. And that's where the first victory must be won. You are not your thoughts. You are the one who commands them. Most people go through life assuming their thoughts define them. If they feel fear, they must be fearful. If they think a negative thought, they believe they are a negative person. But here's a truth most never hear. You are not your thoughts. You are the observer, the commander, the architect. Your thoughts are like clouds in the sky, passing, shifting, temporary. You don't control which thoughts come, but you do control which ones stay. You must learn to separate yourself from the noise in your mind. The mind generates thousands of thoughts a day, some rooted in truth, others in insecurity, old habits or emotional wounds. Just because a thought enters your mind doesn't make it valid. The moment you start seeing thoughts as suggestions, not commands, you begin to take back control. Let's say a thought tells you, you're not good enough. That thought may feel heavy. It may stir emotions, but pause. Step back. Who decided that thought was fact? Did it come from evidence or from a past failure? You have the power to question it. You have the power to reject it. You have the power to replace it. This is where real strength lies, not in pretending negativity doesn't exist, but in standing guard at the gates of your mind. You decide what gets to take root. You decide what gets airtime. You don't have to fight every thought, but you must choose which ones grow and which ones you let wither. Start by recognizing patterns. Are you always predicting worst-case scenarios? Always doubting yourself when faced with opportunity? These patterns are learned, and what's learned can be unlearned. Every time you interrupt a negative pattern with awareness, you weaken its grip. Every time you choose a thought of faith over fear, growth over guilt, purpose over panic, you strengthen your mental armor. It takes courage to lead your mind. It takes patience to rewire the patterns you didn't even know were running in the background. But you're not a slave to your thoughts. You're not helpless to the storm in your head. You are the sky. The storm may pass through, but it doesn't define the sky. When you begin to see yourself as the master of your inner world, everything around you starts to change. Because the mind is the control center. Get that in order, and you'll see how much power you've had all along. Rise ruthless, live relentless. You've come this far. Don't slow down now. The average mindset quits when it's tired. But the relentless mindset, it keeps going even when there's no energy left. This isn't about hype. This is about becoming unbreakable. Ruthless with your habits. Relentless with your mission. Understand this. Life doesn't give you what you want. It gives you what you demand through discipline, through fire, through sacrifice. You can't wish your way to greatness. You have to grind your way there. And that grind starts when no one is watching. When there's no applause, no audience, just you and your choices. Stop romanticizing motivation. It's temporary. It fades. The real weapon is consistency. Ruthless consistency. That means you show up whether you're ready or not, whether you're scared or sure, whether it's convenient or chaos. You rise anyway. You rise ruthless. Relentless people aren't lucky. They're focused. They don't ask, is this fair? They ask, how do I win despite this? They don't hope for better days. They create them. Because they understand every excuse delays the life they could be living. Every moment wasted feeds weakness, and weakness, once fed, grows roots. You weren't born to be average. You weren't made to fit in. You were built to rise. And rising requires a level of intensity most people avoid. It requires doing things others won't do, sacrificing what they won't sacrifice, getting uncomfortable again and again until it becomes your normal. Stop telling yourself you'll start next week. Start now. If the voice in your head says you can't, prove it wrong through action. Don't defend your limitations, destroy them. And don't aim to feel better. Aim to get better. Ruthlessly, relentlessly. This is your season to dominate, not just survive, not just crawl through life. Dominate with clarity, with force, with the kind of focus that makes distractions irrelevant. People won't understand your grind. Let them stay confused. You're not living for their approval. You're building for your legacy. Look in the mirror, not to see who you are, but to remind yourself who you're becoming. Remind yourself why you started, who you're doing this for, what pain you refuse to return to. Let that fuel you. Let that burn in your soul so hot that every step you take scorches fear and doubt on the way. No more hesitation, no more halfway, no more waiting for perfect conditions. You rise ruthless, you live relentless, because anything less is betrayal to the power inside you. And that's no longer acceptable. Now, are you ready to become the person they said you'd never be? Then prove it. Every single day. Discipline, the silent weapon of the strong. If there's one trait that separates the truly strong from the rest, it's discipline. Not talent, not luck, not charm. Discipline. The quiet, often unseen commitment to doing what needs to be done, even when you don't feel like it, even when no one's watching, even when the world tempts you with every excuse to quit. Discipline is not glamorous. You won't always get praised for it. No one throws a party because you woke up early, hit the gym, skipped distractions, stayed consistent, or said no to what doesn't serve your goals. But over time, it becomes the very thing that defines you. It becomes your armor, your compass, your edge. When emotions scream, discipline whispers. It reminds you that feelings are temporary, but consequences are not. Discipline is what keeps your head clear when anxiety clouds your vision. It's what holds your ground when your motivation disappears. It's what pulls you forward when nothing else is left. Strength, real strength, isn't loud or reactive. It's not about flexing muscles or yelling louder than the next person. It's about control over your urges, your time, your energy, your focus. It's about choosing discomfort today so that you don't have to live with regret tomorrow. That's power. Anyone can talk a big game. Anyone can post quotes, shout about goals, and make promises. But it takes an entirely different level of self-mastery to follow through, to commit behind the scenes, to stay consistent long after the spark of excitement is gone. That's where discipline shows up, and that's where strength is built. Because discipline is truth. You can't fake it. You can't cheat it. Either you're doing the work or you're not. Either you're growing or you're not. Either you're in control or your emotions are. And if you want to live a life that's different from the average, you have to become someone different. That begins with discipline, with making the hard choices, with sacrificing what's easy for what's right. So ask yourself, how badly do you want it? Are you willing to get uncomfortable? Are you willing to delay gratification? Are you ready to stop being pulled by emotion and start being led by principle? Because once discipline takes over, everything changes. You stop reacting and start choosing. You stop hoping and start building. And most importantly, you stop talking about strength and start living it. Quiet, calm, focused, relentless. Discipline isn't the loudest trait, but it's the one that carries you furthest. Control your energy, control your life. The strongest people aren't the ones with endless time or limitless resources. They are the ones who know exactly where to channel their energy. They don't waste it on every argument. They don't drain themselves reacting to every opinion. They protect their peace because they know that every ounce of energy spent carelessly is energy stolen from their mission. Your energy is your currency. How you spend it determines the quality of your life. You can either waste it trying to prove yourself to people who don't matter, or invest it into building a future that does. You can give your energy to anger, anxiety, distractions, or you can give it to focus, action, and growth. The loudest person in the room often has the least control. They're scattered, emotionally reactive, desperate to be heard. But the person who has mastered their energy, they move with calm intention. They speak when it matters. They act with direction. They don't react to chaos. They rise above it. Strength isn't about showing up everywhere. It's about showing up where it counts. Not every battle is worth fighting. Not every comment deserves a response. Not every problem needs your full attention. When you learn to conserve your fire, you burn longer, brighter, and more powerfully. This is where real maturity comes in. Not just knowing what to do, but knowing what to let go. Not needing to respond to every provocation. Not needing to win every argument. You choose your priorities, your focus, your path, and you defend them without apology. And this control, It doesn't come from outside validation. It comes from deep inner alignment. You know your purpose. You know what matters. And because of that, you're not pulled in every direction. You don't exhaust yourself proving your worth. You build, you rise, you move. When others are reactive, you stay grounded. When
There's complaint, you stay committed. When others burn out from trying to please the world, you move with clarity, because your energy is sacred and you refuse to waste it. If you want to be strong, protect your focus, guard your mind, control your energy like your life depends on it, because it does. The person who learns to do that doesn't just survive chaos, they thrive in it. The world will always try to steal your attention. Don't give it away so easily. Train your energy like a weapon. Aim it with purpose. Use it with power. That's how quiet strength leads to massive impact.
the power of stillness in a world that never stops. In a world that worships noise, motion and speed, stillness almost seems like weakness, but that's a lie. The truth is, stillness is strength, not the kind that flexes for attention, but the kind that stands its ground when everything else is crumbling. The world never stops. There's always another notification, another crisis, another reason to be anxious. But strength isn't about reacting to all of it. It's about mastering your inner world so you don't have to chase every ripple in the outer one. It's about being still enough to hear your own thoughts, to make decisions from a place of clarity, not chaos. You've probably noticed it. The people who panic loudest, move fastest, or shout the most often have the least control over themselves. They're slaves to the world's tempo. But the truly powerful, they slow down, they breathe, they observe, they act only when it's time, because they know that intentional movement always beats reckless motion. Stillness isn't doing nothing. It's doing the most important thing, centering yourself. It's where wisdom is born. It's where you sharpen your awareness and calm your instincts. And in that stillness, your real strength emerges, not because you're hiding, but because you're building focus that can't be shaken. Have you ever seen a lion before it strikes? It doesn't waste energy roaring at everything that passes. It waits, it watches, and when the time is right, it moves with precision and power. That's what stillness trains in you, restraint, discipline, and lethal control. If you want to be unshakable, you have to stop feeding your anxiety with constant movement. Sit with yourself, face your own mind, confront the parts of you that want to rush, to please, to escape. In silence, you'll find the real battle, and in mastering that battle, you'll discover a strength no noise can match. You don't need to prove your value through endless hustle. You don't need to fill every moment with action. You just need to be deeply rooted, so when the storm hits, you're not running for cover. You're standing firm. This is where true power lives, not in performance, but in presence. Not in screaming, but in silent certainty. So take a breath, be still, reclaim control of your spirit, because when the world can't pull you out of your center, you become the kind of person who can pull the world into alignment. And that is power. When you're quietly winning, let them wonder. There comes a point in your journey where you stop explaining yourself. You stop announcing every move. You stop defending your growth to people who aren't even growing. That's when you know you've stepped into a higher level of strength. Real power doesn't seek permission. It doesn't ask for applause. It just works, quietly, consistently. And then it arrives, not with noise, not with drama, but with undeniable presence. And the world notices, not because you begged it to, but because your results now speak what your voice never needed to. If you're building something right now, keep going, but stop posting every brick. Not everyone needs to see your foundation before the structure is complete. Let them underestimate. Let them forget. Let them assume you disappeared. And then show up with something they can't ignore. The strongest people aren't loud. They're focused. And focus looks boring to the outside world. It looks like you've gone missing. But you know where you are. You're in the lab, in the shadows, sharpening your edge while others scroll, talk, and waste their time proving they're relevant. And when you're quiet, you listen better. You learn faster. You adjust quicker. You stop living for approval and start living for alignment. Your vision becomes clear. Your discipline becomes automatic. And your success becomes inevitable. Every time you choose silence over reaction, patience over proving, discipline over impulse, you're stacking power. Quiet power. The kind that doesn't need to be seen every day, because when it arrives, it's unstoppable. Don't be afraid to disappear for a while. Don't be afraid to look like you're not doing much. Because when the roots are deep, no one sees the growth until the tree breaks through the earth. And by then, it's too late for the doubters to catch up. Let your transformation be your loudest statement. Let your silence disturb those who thought you'd quit.
Let your discipline humble the ones who laughed at your process. Because in the end, it's not about how loud you were along the way. It's about who you became when no one was watching. Keep building in the dark. Keep grinding in peace. Let them wonder what happened to you. Until one day, they're forced to ask, how did you do it? And you won't even have to answer. Your life will speak for you.
You've come to the end of this message, but the journey it talks about, that journey of silent strength, focused control, and inner discipline has just begun for you. If there's one thing you need to take from this entire video, it's this. You don't have to be loud to be powerful. You don't need to scream to be heard. You don't have to convince anyone to believe in you. Let your growth whisper and let your success roar. Strength isn't the person yelling about what they'll do next. Strength is the one actually doing it, quietly, relentlessly, every single day. While others chase attention, you chase excellence. While others post for likes, you build for legacy. You've learned now, the calmest one in the room is usually the most dangerous. The one with control, not just over the situation, but over themselves. That's the level you're aiming for. That's who you're becoming. And yes, there will be days when it feels like no one sees the effort. No one appreciates the discipline. No one notices the sacrifices. But here's the truth. You don't need them to. Because strength that is rooted in self-respect, self-mastery, and vision doesn't need applause. It creates its own echo. Let them wonder why you're so quiet. Let them talk while you're working. Let them think you've slowed down. Then, when the moment comes, let your life speak with so much clarity that it drowns out every doubt they ever had. This is the mindset of champions, of leaders, of legends. The world doesn't remember those who made the most noise. It remembers those who made the most impact, and impact takes time. It takes silence. It takes patience. It takes walking alone while others run in circles just to be seen. But you're not here for circles. You're here for breakthroughs. So walk quietly if you must. Build in the shadows if that's where your strength lies. Disappear if that's what it takes to rise. Because one day, that controlled strength, that sharp focus, that quiet power, it will be undeniable. And when that day comes, they won't ask you why you were so quiet. They'll ask you how you became so unstoppable. And your answer? Just a calm smile. Because real power doesn't explain itself. It just walks in and changes everything.